sea came rushing on either side with a loud noise.
These are people drifting, clinging onto trees, bits and pieces of furniture.
I heard from all sides the sounds of people asking to be saved.
I kept thinking that these lives were more important than mine.
I thought for sure I wouldn't escape.
I was praying. I didn't believe we would escape.
From the Weather Channel, this is Storm Stories with meteorologist Jim Cantori.
December 26, 2004. At 7:59 a.m., a powerful earthquake rocks the seafloor off the western coast of Sumatra. The magnitude 9.0 causes the ocean floor to rise by as much as 33 feet. The result? A series of waves known as a tsunami speeds across the Indian Ocean. With no warning system in place, millions of people in southern Asia have no idea what is coming.
The surface of the ocean was just like a sheet of glass, so calm, so still, nothing moved.
But in just 15 minutes, the tsunami makes its first landfall in Indonesia. Hundreds of thousands scramble to escape the ensuing flood. The scene is repeated a short time later in Thailand as the water ravages the popular Andaman coast. The tsunami waves don't stop here. They are now 15 minutes away from Sri Lanka. There, 50-year-old Dialon Sanders is preparing his Sunday morning sermon. The pastor is a U.S. citizen who came here more than 10 years ago to help with relief efforts. Sanders sold his home in Maryland to build an orphanage, the Samaritan Children's Home.
We have Sunday services here, and we have about 25 families who attend these services every Sunday from the village and from over across the lagoon there.
The orphanage is in the village of Navladi, a small fishing community of 2,000 people. Sanders works with his wife of 10 years, Kohila, a Sri Lankan native. She helps take care of the home's 28 orphans, along with the couple's 3-year-old daughter, Hadassah.
I took my child for a morning wash and fed the child her breakfast. Then I started my other work, which is cooking for all of us.
Out on the lagoon, another villager is working hard to take care of his wife and 2 children. Ravi Nahuleswaran is a local fisherman. He's lived in the Batikaloa district his entire life. This morning he's trying to catch shrimp to use as bait, but it's not going so well.
I threw the net, but I couldn't catch any shrimp, so I went to the other side. I went to Navaladi and we caught 230 shrimp. I said, we don't have many shrimp, so we can go out to sea.
Back at the orphanage, 15-year-old Priya starts her day. She's been at Samaritan 4 years now.
My mother is in Polomalai. I have no father. I don't know where he is.
This morning, Priya is doing chores with 17-year-old Sarojini. She's been here for 3 years.
We had to sweep the floor of the chapel and the garden because guests were coming for Sunday services. When we finished, we went toward the sea beach, where the well is situated to take a wash before prayers.
At the well, Sarojini and Priya are startled by 2 boys returning from a morning swim.
The boys came running up shouting, "The sea is coming! The sea is coming!"
The girls run back to the main building to warn the others. Kohila is in the kitchen tending to her daughter and getting ready for lunch.
I asked one girl to bring in all the spices. As I was saying that, Sarojini came and told me the sea was coming.
Kohila drops everything and runs to tell her husband.
It was only when I was running towards the pastor's room that I saw the sea before me.
She burst into the room. I'll never forget the look on her face. And I knew that there was something awfully wrong. And so she said, the sea is coming in.
As it was coming, it looked just like a normal wave, but a little bit higher. It got higher as it approached the house. It became greater as it came closer to our gate.
It's now 1 hour and 45 minutes after the earthquake. The first wave washes over the village and toward the mission.
Immediately something told me that there wasn't going to be a safe place on dry ground for a long time to come.
Sanders shouts for everyone to get to the orphanage's boat in the lagoon. Scattered throughout the facility, staff members and children, some only half-dressed, scramble from all directions.
I remember the wave coming up, rolling and churning as we were running.
We had under a minute from the time I saw the wave till we got into the boat.
As Sanders rushes to get all the orphans safely inside the boat, his wife goes back to look for their daughter, Hadassah. Kohila sees her child in an orphan's arms, but in the chaos of screaming children, she believes her husband is not yet on board. She hesitates, not able to find him in the crowd. The wave continues its advance over land and closes in on Kohila.
I held on to a coconut tree and shouted, "Don't stay here, take the boat with the children and go." My husband is inside. I won't come until he comes. Then I heard him calling me, but as I was going to climb in, the water came and pushed me to the boat. I held on, but because of the water, the boat raised and went back. I was underwater. The children held my hand and pulled me into the boat. It was as if somebody pushed me from the bottom of my foot into the boat.
On the opposite end of the lagoon, fisherman Ravi and his friend Raja are on their way home when the water level begins to rise. It's not until Ravi hears Raja's wife screaming from shore that he realizes something is wrong.
I didn't know what to do, whether to go home or whether to run. I had to tell my husband. He was the only one who could save our family.
The wave chases 28-year-old Cindy Sandrahela as she rushes to meet her husband and Ravi at shore. Several of her relatives scramble into the boat.
I jumped in and then I saw everyone from my home, and my daughter was also on board. They were all there, and it strengthened me to see them.
Nearly a dozen people managed to get on to Ravi's boat. The tsunami strikes their village with devastating force.
The sea came rushing on all four sides with a loud noise, like the sound of firecrackers. It was about 2 coconut trees high. The water was swirling down, pulling people under. There was smoke, there was garbage, and I was without help.
The tsunami's waves swallow everything in sight. 70% of Sri Lanka's coastline is now underwater. From their boat, Pastor Dylan Sanders, his wife, daughter, and 28 orphans watch in horror as the water engulfs the area.
I looked, and then when I looked the second time, the wave was up there. You know, it had just mowed down everything that stood in its path.
We weren't very scared because we thought we'd be okay. But when we saw the water coming from the river mouth, it was very strong and high. The boat started to rock from side to side as if we were going to topple. We thought we were all going to die.
When Sanders sees the water bring down his orphanage, it's not despair, but scripture that comes to mind.
I stretched my hand and I said, based on the authority of the scriptures that say, I command you in the name of Jesus, stop.
It is December 26, 2004 in Sri Lanka. Tens of thousands flee a devastating tsunami.
The sheer pressure of the falling water, pushed the lagoon up. The boat in which we were, it just swelled up.
I couldn't raise my head and sit up straight in the boat. I didn't know what was happening. I cried a lot because I heard from all sides the sounds of people asking to be saved.
As thousands struggle to stay alive, Sanders tries to steer the craft as far from shore as possible to avoid the mounting debris.
The fury and the pace with which it came at us, it was like, 100 freight trains charging at you all at the same time.
The pastor said, "Don't cry, God exists. He will take care of all. If you cry, there are children in the boat. The children will also cry, so don't cry." But still, we cried.
As the sea claims everything around them, Sanders and the orphans have only one thought.
Would we be able to escape or not?
Across much of Sri Lanka, city streets have become death traps. People desperately cling to whatever they can. They climb onto floating cars and buses. The pastor keeps his faith.
Something deep down told me that we were going to make it. And I knew this isn't the way that I was going to meet my end. And that God is greater than this tsunami.
As the group motors far from land, the waves batter Sanders' boat.
Waves were lashing at us, from all sides, and every time we got broadsided by a wave, it almost capsized the boat.
Sanders realizes the best chance to stay afloat is to maneuver his boat on top of the waves.
All of a sudden, we kept climbing. We got on. We kept climbing up. We got on top.
But the boat nearly capsizes. As the children scream with fear, Sanders urges everyone to stay calm.
I was praying. I didn't believe we would escape.
It was only when we saw a wave come from the river mouth that we became afraid, because it came and fell toward the boat. I think it was 30 feet high. It was so tall.
The group looks on as those dragged from shore into the water struggle to stay afloat. It's an agonizing moment for Sanders.
We saw people, drifting, clinging onto trees, bits and pieces of furniture, whatever they could hold on to, and they were crying out to us. But I said, I'm sorry, but if I even take one more person, we would all go down.
But another boat on the lagoon does have some extra room. In it, fisherman Ravi Nahuleswaran rescues as many people as he can.
At the time, I was only thinking about those around me, that the people of Navaladi would be wiped out. I tried to save them. I thought, even though I am alone, even if I die, I will help the people and ask God to help me.
As his vessel fills beyond capacity, Ravi looks for a safe place to dock. But the water turns even more violent and tosses the boat. Several people are knocked overboard, including Ravi's friend Raja. Raja's wife watches in horror.
A big wave came and pushed Raja into the water. I couldn't see my husband. The water was coming up over my head. I thought I would die, and so to save my child at least, I shouted to Ravi in fear, please save the child.
Ravi holds on to Cindy and her child as Raja swims to safety. Others are not so lucky.
People were crying desperately. But by the time I got to them and reached out my